most people start with, what do I want to do? Well, you're going to be in the hamster wheel with everyone else. Like, doing is great, but and you're going to need to do some doing, but you want to know where you're going. Like, how do you really want to feel? How do you want to feel about your finances? How do you want to feel about your relationships with your children, with your partner, with, the contribution that you make in the world? Like, really start with that desire. And when we don't give ourselves that space in order to do it, like, that's where years just go by. Like, people are in the same job that they hate, doing the same things without feeling inspired or whatnot. So you want to start with desire. That's the first thing.
It's exciting to see. It's exciting to have conversations about life, sustainability, legacy, and not just talking about financing all the time.
Don talks about really a commitment to leadership. I think that's the distinctive part that makes it so powerful.
I've achieved the American dream, and I'm committed to helping others do the same.
Welcome to Don Wenner's Elite Impact Podcast. I'm your guest host, Bo Parfet, and I'm really excited to talk with our guest today. She is a mother of two, an executive, an author, and the co-owner of GoBundance Women. Kelly is dedicated to helping others adopt an abundance mindset, overcome self-sabotage, and achieve their goals. Through her book, Big Voices and Women Empowered Networks, she shares powerful strategies and tools to inspire others to think differently and embrace both joy and success. Please welcome to the podcast, Kelly Resendez. How you doing?
Hi, Bo. Hi. So happy to be here this morning.
We are so excited to have you on the podcast. You've been a speaker at the DLP events. You and I have had a lot of conversations. Our community is a big fan of yours, so we're so excited to have you with us today. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm definitely excited to be here as well, and I love the DLP community, so excited to share.
So I'm familiar with your story, but our audience would like to maybe learn a little bit more. So where did you start your journey, and what made you start this program focusing on kind of leaders and mindset and growth?
Yeah, happy to share on my journey. I grew up in a small town in Northern California, and I was raised by parents who were both entrepreneurs and real estate investors. So I always say I kind of hit the grand prize in programming, especially around abundance from a young age. But I mean, there are definitely positive and negatives that go along with it. I was always pushed to be the best at everything that I did. And when you're coming from that and you're also coming from a small town, you kind of think that you are. And so there were a lot of lessons in that. But what I'm grateful for is that it pushed me into a career in mortgage, because I started at a bank when I was super young and was still in high school, and was able to really take that career and build off of it for the rest of, pretty much my entire adult life. And so I was one of the top loan officers in the nation, in the top 1%. The reason why I was able to do that is because I really adopted personal growth and business strategy concepts that I went out and found, and then applied to an industry that really hadn't had that before. And so I started teaching real estate agents as well, and started speaking and coaching agents on how they could grow their business. And my business grew as a result of that. And so I had a lot of worldly success. And by, I would say 2003, 2004, I lived a very blessed life financially and in business success, but the rest of my life was falling apart. My physical health wasn't there. My mom had been diagnosed with dementia. I was struggling with enjoying myself in what I was doing, and that's really when I had my awakening, was in 2004. And the first part of that awakening was recognizing that I was not my thoughts. My entire life I had been driven by my thoughts. My brain had really created, I would say, the environment that I lived in. And that's when I just started down this path of personal growth. And here we are 21 years later. I'm an executive at GoodLeap. We're a financial technology and SaaS company that's really focused on home improvement, and also co-own GoBundance Women. I've been with the founders of GoodLeap for about 14 years, and then also have GoBundance Women, published a few books, and I just absolutely love helping people transform their lifestyle and their mindset so that they can have success and joy simultaneously, instead of it being this, hey, you've got to sacrifice and only work hard and give up your relationship or your health in order to be able to create an amazing company. So that's just it in a smidge. And I had a couple kids along the way. They're adults now. Absolutely. Holy moly. Having adult kids is so fun. So for anybody listening with small kids, you're going to get through it and get to the other side.
So thank you, Kelly. What I want to double click on this a little bit. What was the moment, the specific moment where you said, you know what? I'm going to change. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to jump off that cliff. Like the very specific moment.
The specific moment was I picked up a book called Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I was reading it. And now as I was reading it, I was starting to see that my thoughts were like literally consuming me. And shortly thereafter, I mean, honestly, it's this simple. I took a bath with my daughter, who was only 9 months old at the time. And I truly believe I had one of the most present moments that I've ever had in my entire life. Because when you're in those first, few months of having a kid, you're in complete like adrenaline, just how do I keep this child alive? How do I keep myself alive? And my business was absolutely off the charts at this point. If anybody remembers, we had lowest interest rates in 2003. And so it was at that moment that I realized, like, man, my brain never stops. Like, it really has paralyzed me from really enjoying the moment, and then learning from that point how to start to use my brain instead of my brain controlling my life.
And I love that. So the book, I want to be clear on this. You finished the book, put the book down. An hour later, you're in the bath with your daughter, and boom, it shifted right there. Is that what it was? Was that the moment?
Oh, I felt true joy and contentment in a moment where I didn't need to tell anyone else. When you're raised in a world where significance is, you need the worldly success, and being in mortgage, if anybody's in mortgage and real estate on this call, we're publishing top producer reports every month. There is a lot of significance to be gained in those industries. And so I was so dependent on, I was only successful if other people saw me that way. And in this moment, it didn't matter. Like, it was me and my daughter and nothing else in the entire world. I didn't need to take a picture. I didn't need to experience it other than like, man, I could actually feel into that moment.
I love it. Now, our audience loves John C. Maxwell. We love John C. Maxwell, and I know you do. Tell us about the special relationship you have with John C. Maxwell.
Yeah, well, I have to just give a huge shout out to the DLP team for making that happen. Never in a million years did I think when I would be invited to speak at your event that it would be the catalyst to this relationship with John and Mark and the team. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. So John was at an event that I was speaking at. He was also speaking. And, I would tell you that prior to that moment, I'm one of the unique people that doesn't have stage fear. Like, I literally just don't. It's just not a part of what, I'm so used to being on stages now that there was really no fear. And when I went up, I was like, great. I go in the green room and John Gordon had just finished. I've never spoken behind John Gordon before. And I was like, great. Like, he's one of my favorites as well. And so it was just, shoulder shrug. I'm going to get on stage and I'm going to, I always pray right before I get on stage and just ask God to speak through me and to reach the people that need to hear the message. And if it resonates with one person, like, I'm blessed and I'm doing my work, right? So I get up on stage and, the lights hit you a little bit, and then I look directly down the middle aisle and John is sitting there. And not only is he sitting there, he's taking notes, he's taking photos. And, for a moment I was like, I got that adrenaline fear that came up, and I had to quickly just take a big gulp, and, I integrated him into my speaking. A lot of times people don't realize that when you take the fear or the doubt out of the shadows and you actually say what it is, like it can actually release a little bit of your nervous system flutters. And so it's like, holy moly, and John Maxwell sitting in the audience. I didn't think I'd have fear before that. And, and then shared the gratitude for that moment. And so that's what happened. I did my best up there. And then I was asked by, JD, who was with him, who's also become a close friend, to meet with John. And that was just really the start of an amazing friendship. And I've now been a mentor in his financial wisdom program. I'm, participating on his site at the masterclass series that he's hosting here coming up, and more to come. So the one thing I would say is that he was always a mentor through his books and his videos and events and other things. But having the opportunity to really see what true, authentic, I would say power is by a man who is selfless in what he gives. Like he is definitely allowed me to see what that looks like. So many speakers, so many leaders are really still in it for themselves, right? They might make a big impact, but it's about them. And John is one of the few people that I know that really is like, he is doing God's work, period. That's it. And he's not going to stop.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. That's really good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. I want to focus on two things. The first one is about leaders, and the second one is about family. Okay, so leaders and family. So for the audience, don't miss this, because these two things are going to be really important. So you probably work with, I know you do, a lot of people that are experiencing great success professionally, but they probably are struggling personally.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that some nuggets, some tools, some wisdom that you can share into the audience right now? Because I know that people are listening are in that bucket.
Yeah.
What are some things that you could tell them right now to help them shift and kind of level up?
Yeah, the first thing is you're not alone. Like most of us don't I would say share a lot of the self-suffering that we have. Like most of us wait until something like catastrophic happens to ask for help. The first thing that I would say is that it's very common when you haven't learned neuroscience and brain facts and strategies to be able to overcome this old technology that we have, which is our brain. Like if you haven't learned those, then you shouldn't expect yourself to be at any level other than where you are today. And no one's teaching this in school. No one's showing us that, we are the creators of our own reality. And in doing that, it does require some discipline. And so what I would say is that for myself, the recipe for combining success with joy and really fulfillment has come through many years of testing. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of my recipe. The first thing starts with desire. So you need to have very clear vision for how you want to feel. And that's your desire. Most people start with, what do I want to do? Well, you're going to be in the hamster wheel with everyone else. Like doing is great, but and you're going to need to do some doing, but you want to know where you're going. Like, how do you really want to feel? How do you want to feel about your finances? How do you want to feel about your relationships with your children, with your partner, with, the contribution that you make in the world? Like, really start with that desire. And when we don't give ourselves that space in order to do it, like that's where years just go by. Like people are in the same job that they hate, doing the same things without feeling inspired or whatnot. So you want to start with desire. That's the first thing. The second thing that you need is discipline. Now, the discipline is to support the desire. The discipline is around the practices that you need to do day in and day out in order to be able to feel the way that you want to. Now, I believe my life is divinely guided by God. He has moved me. It is not a coincidence that John was in the audience that day. I had recently prayed, like, Lord, if you want me to influence at a higher level, then show me the way. And that's exactly what John is helping me with. Is I've had success, but I need to increase influence. So the practices, it is so important under discipline that you understand, like, you've got to practice these things every day. I practice, really how I want to feel And how do I do that? I'm committed to my physical well-being. I'm committed to my emotional well-being. I surround myself with the right people. I can catch my thoughts before they really, hold me back. And that's where you don't need to go out and get a neuroscience degree. But when you start to realize that your brain is wired for survival, it's not wired for, oh my gosh, I'm going to live a blessed life and magnetize myself for awesome success, right? It is like, no, Bo's breathing, job well done. That's it. So you could do the same things over and over. So you've got to figure out what some of those disciplines are. My morning ritual is definitely one of the most important things in my life. It is like air for me. It is, I put God first. How do I show him? How do I make sure that I'm staying on track with what my goals are, my focus, other things like that? And so that's a major practice that I use in order to be able to stay in alignment with how I want to feel. And then the last piece is environment, is that you must create an environment for yourself, both internally and externally, that support the desire. And a lot of us, we hear you're as successful as your 5 closest friends, but we really don't make an intention to build the people around us that are going to push us to the next level. Most of us stay in our comfort zone. That comfort zone will not get you to your desire. That's why I love communities like DLP or GoBundance, because you're surrounded with like-minded people that are going to push you to the next level, that are going to ask the questions that you might not want to be able to, ask of yourself, and you're going to have a safe space to celebrate. And so it's that desire plus discipline plus environment is what I believe all leaders really need to invest in, so that they can get to this next level of, hey, I'm successful and I feel it, because that's uncommon.
I love that. So to recap, DDE, desire, discipline, and environment.
Yep. Not
That's
a fancy acronym, though, but it works.
I love that. And that's dripping with wisdom. And I know people in the audience will take that and start to implement it in their lives. Someone is ready. Someone has the desire right now. And I love what you just said. And they're going to take that and change their life. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. The second piece is family. So what are some of the keystone strategies? What are some of the keystone strategies to help someone maximize their family life?
Yeah, what a great question. Number one, I truly believe that your relationships and your physical health are the greatest indicators of success that you'll have in your life. I don't believe that you'll ever get as far as you could if those are not stabilized. So I know for myself, being a mom of now a 20 and a 22-year-old, that the conscious parenting system that I really used to raise my kids allowed me to have relationships with them that did a few things. Number one, I was accepting of who they were. I didn't try to make them who I wanted them to be. That's the big thing. The second belief that I really had was my children chose me to teach me the lessons that I refused to learn on my own. And so when my kids struggled or we were struggling, rather than put the blame or put myself into a victim mode, I made it about work that I needed to do. I used it as a mirror of like, oh, I could really use more patience. I could really use more acceptance. I could really use more discipline. And so it was a relationship, and my kids, I'm so grateful that I had my awakening before they were even, my daughter was 1, not even 1 when I did. And so I was already starting this work. I believe the best relationships come from working on yourself. And when you work on yourself, you inspire other people to as well. And so it's amazing seeing my kids now at the age that they are, doing their goals, thinking about their future, knowing that they want to make a bigger impact in the world, and really just showing up. But you've got to make sure that the relationship aspects in your life are solid, and that you also have boundaries in places that might be sucking energy from you too. So it's this two-part thing of like, how do I foster the healthy relationships and release some of the toxic or unhealthy ones from my life by putting strong boundaries in place too?
I love it. I love it. So Kelly, thank you. That's really good wisdom for a lot of people. There's a couple other things that are on my list to talk to you about. One of them so one of them is your leadership role at GoBundance, and then you've got a book
Yeah.
you've written, Big Voices, and you have another book coming out. So I want to touch on that too. But tell the audience, tell us about GoBundance Women, and your role there, and how you're helping people, and tell us about it.
Yeah, for sure. So again, we talked a little bit about like what I believe the recipe, and this is an area we talked about family too that I use in every area. The desire, the discipline, and then the environment. And so environment for me is something that I had to create. Being a female executive, there aren't a lot of other female executives in my area, in my peer group, or just around me. So I had a lot of loneliness as I was on this personal growth journey. I had a lot of like just I didn't have anybody to celebrate with, and I didn't have anybody to challenge and push me to get to the next level. People would say, "What? You're doing what now? Like why can't you just slow down?" instead of like, "Hey, how can I help you? What resource would help you get there faster?" And that's truly where GoBundance came from. There was already a men's division of GoBundance, and I knew that they were interested in maybe starting a women's group, and that's where it came from. Now, they're not exactly the same. We focus a little bit more on how we're feeling than we do what we're doing, and just really foster that side of us, because men and women are different. And we really provide, I would say, an ecosystem of support from being in a place where you're in a pod with other women, having access to micro groups, master classes, and resources that are really going to be able to help you get to the next level without sacrificing. So that's our big focus. How can we help you grow? If you want to grow your revenue, your career, whatever it is, how can we help you grow without sacrifice? So we do a lot of leadership training. I do group coaching on mindset as well, and really just make sure that people feel supported in that. Now, I believe any leader that's out there should have a mastermind, because it is such an important, safe space for you to be able to have your own board of advisors, right? The best and most successful companies have great boards, they have advisors, they have mentors, and it's all built in within the GoBundance community. And so when we go to events, we're actually like sitting down talking about our 3, our 5, our 10-year goal. We're not just hanging out, going out to the club and connecting, which I think there's a time and a place for fun and connection, but we also have such a small, precious amount of time here that we want to make sure that we maximize it. And so being a co-founder and owner of GoBundance Women, I get to be in proximity to amazing women. So it's not only something I give to them, it's what I receive as well.
Wonderful. I love it. So for the audience members, if for the female listeners or for the male listeners that know a female that's looking to kind of call it level up, have more abundance in their life, really kind of, go after that desire that Kelly spoke about before, the desire, discipline, environment. Check out GoBundance Women for sure. Kelly, please tell us about the books that you've written.
I had a book in mortgage and real estate called Foundation to Sustainable Success, which was really like the path in which I grew my business. And then Big Voices came through what I would say my own healing journey. My whole intention for it was like, how do I write a book for myself to remember the strategies that really have gotten me through some of the most challenging times in my life. And so that's really what Big Voices came from. It is a guide to help you manage overthinking and self-sabotage, and really just be able to find joy in spite of anything that's going on. And then this last book, again, thank you DLP, because I didn't know what I was going to write my last book on until I was at your conference, and John Maxwell actually said, like, you've got to write your next book on this. And so that's what I've done. It's called The Abundance Frequency, and it's the 7 practices that really will get you to this next level and be in this state of flow or just, attraction, where you are magnetized to opportunity. And that's the best place to be, because, so many of us have been programmed to believe that we've got to just work so hard and sacrifice to be able to get to the next level. And there's just a sixth gear that most of us don't know about. So that should be out by the end of 2025. So I'm super excited
Yeah,
about that book, and really just getting it into the hands of people that want to experience life differently. For anyone listening, like, being plagued with guilt, shame, fear, worry, whether it's around finances, your kids, or any of these other things, like, there's just a different way, you know?
absolutely.
And I feel like technology has actually made it a little bit worse, especially for parents that are like tracking their kids and all these other things. And one of my favorite statements that Joel Osteen always said is like, God wants you to know, like, you want to keep them in the fenced yard, but he's got them in the pasture. Like, bring the gates down. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry so much. Like, let them be. Like, they were equipped with everything they need to know about creating an amazing life here, and then we program them the wrong way over time. And so, that's the one thing, that there is a different way, and the way is to just release and let go a lot of those, letting go of a lot of those lower level, vibrations, and getting into the higher states where you just feel like, man, my life is divinely guided and I don't have to worry about anything anymore.
I can't wait to read all three of your books. So thank you for telling us about that. Kelly, this has been an amazing interview. I've really enjoyed our time together. And I love asking this question. And I know our audience does too. What do you want your legacy to be? When you're looking back at when you're 80 years old, 90 or 100, or maybe we live to 120. When you look back, what are some of the one or two things
Yeah.
that you want to be remembered for, or like, talk to us about your legacy? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, Bo, honestly, it's such an interesting question, because there's a part of me that's like, God's like, you don't need to worry about your legacy. Like, it's about me, right? But then we also do want to make a bigger impact in the world. And so the impact that I really want to make in the world is, I want it to be known as one of the leading disruptors in
Mm.
restoring the balance of leadership in this world.
Mhm.
Let's be honest, only
Mhm.
10% of C-suite executives are women. Board numbers are even more pathetic than that. Only 2% of venture capital is going to female founders, and yet 50% of the population is female. And for me, this isn't about equality. This is about just a balanced approach to making sure that we're doing right by the people and the planet simultaneously, both. Like, don't tell me what you're doing is good for the people unless it's good for the planet too. And so my work in this next season of my life is to be radically authentic in this space, and be a disruptor on getting female founders to the next level, getting women prepared to ask. I don't think that we are being as forward as we need to be in getting raises and promotions, and feeling that confidence that's necessary. When I look at data, women experience stress at higher levels, imposter syndrome, guilt, and overthinking. Like, we have the data. If we can work on those four things, which I'm going to be doing in the next, season of my life, like, I think that we change everything. And this isn't to say that, like, if some women still want to stay home and raise their families, more power to you, but make sure that's what you want to do, not that's what's expected of you. And for anyone listening that's a man that has kids, like, you don't realize the challenges that we have as female entrepreneurs and executives. It is harder for us, and we need your help. Like, this isn't a us against you. This is a collaborative effort in order to restore balance so that we can start making decisions that are great. Most people don't think about all of the terrible decisions that have made over the last 20 years until your kid starts vaping when they're 13, or until your kid starts going down a path that they shouldn't be on, because we didn't really do anything about this. And so I believe that's my role. God has been pushing me really hard to, like, get to this next level of influence so that I can disrupt a lot of this in the future.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. I love it. Where, how can the audience follow you? How can they learn more about you? Tell us.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. First of all, I've got a gift for your audience just in case. One of the areas that we know is self-sabotage derails all of us. So I've got a 3-part series that's called downloadthepod.com that really goes through some of the top ways that we do sabotage our own success so that you can get to the next level. But you can always find me, on Instagram at just, Kelly Resendez. It's out there. And then also LinkedIn, or go to the GoBundance Women website. We'd be happy to see you. We've got an upcoming event, our Entrepreneurial Summit, that is happening in Austin, May 4th through the 6th. Hopefully this gets published by then, but we'd love to see you there. And, one of the greatest things that we focus on in GoBundance, which is why DLP is such a great partner, is that we want people to experience financial freedom. And it doesn't happen on accident. It happens with intention. And you've got to be really thoughtful about how you invest your money. Too many people are really good at making money. They're not really good at building wealth. And that's why you've got to take time out of working to invest and surround yourself with other people that are going to show you, some of these, I would say, strategies that are going to help get you to that next level.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Kelly. It's been an honor and privilege for me to be the co-host today and to get to know you better. So thank you for all you do and keep inspiring the world.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Bo, for having me. It's been a blast.